Hey everyone, I'm Eric. This is my wife Julie. Today on Blended Life.
Hey guys, today we're going to talk about unbothered co-parenting. What is that? You'll find out. Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back to another episode. Today,
Well, this was a really hard one to come up with a title because it's about taking your power back from your ex. And when I think about that, I think about becoming unbothered. Like, how can we co-parent with people who possibly trigger us and we have a history with and use, because they're very involved in our kids' lives and nothing's more precious to us than our children. So how can we do like unbothered co-parenting? What are your thoughts on that?
when I think of this, I think of He-Man. And at the beginning, he goes, "I have the power." That was He-Man, right?
Yeah, I
didn't
don't
watch.
know.
I didn't watch a lot of
didn't
He-Man
watch
growing up.
He-Man
I was a Thundercats kind of guy, kid guy, kitty guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, but this idea of unbothered co-parenting, do you think it is possible? Do you think that as our listeners are like, that sounds great, but is it possible?
Yeah,
to do?
100%. But it's something that's going to take time. It's something that's going to take effort. And I mean, just to jump into what you do, it's going to take coaching. I feel like if you're stuck and you're blocked and you don't know how to get to a place like that, like it's something that you could help someone get to a place of habit. I think it's habit. That's what you have to do. You have to break from old habit and get to new habit and be able to not only feel in control, but you need to know what control looks like. You need to know what control is. So if you guys are struggling with that, Julie could help you. But a little shameless plug.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. As far as like, what's a direction? How do we even start there? I don't even know how to get going. I'm like, we all feel powerful, but how do I become powerful in my blended family?
Yeah. Well, I think what I want to do today is I want to kind of talk about unbothered co-parenting and what that looks like. Like when you have it, if the goal is to be unbothered by your ex and be able just to co-parent with logic and not emotion, that to me, when I think of unbothered, that is what that means to me. It means detaching yourself emotionally, and being able to co-parent logically. Not that there aren't going to be disagreements, because what you logically believe is in the best interest of your child, your co-parent may not. And that is a hard situation, but if you can kind of get the emotions out of it and work through it logically, I think that's the unbothered part that is the goal of what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, and it becomes, I feel like I've been in that place for a very long time. I mean, every so often I'll have an emotional like, oh, I don't want to deal with this or this sucks. But for the most part, I am very detached from the emotional side of co-parenting. I mean, there's things that'll bother you here and there, but getting to that place is very powerful. And it's not powerful in the sense that you feel power over the other family or you feel power over anyone other than your situation. You have power in your situation and you feel in control. And I think that's the other word that we're looking for alongside of power. It's control. How do you take control of your emotions and your situation? And if you feel in control lowers your blood pressure. Control,
calms you down.
It calms you. It gives you a sense of
security,
safety. But with that comes happiness because you're in control. You know what's going on. I mean, yeah, day to day, you're going to have little things that'll come at you. That's life.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and it's interesting because, I'm a life coach. You guys know this. I work with women in blended families, whether you're a bio parent, a step parent, whatever your role is in blended families, and I'm offering right now anyway, I don't know in 10 years if this podcast is, you're listening to it, if I'll still be offering free breakthrough sessions, but I am offering right now free breakthrough sessions for new first-time clients. So you can email me at becomingheardnow@gmail.com. If you're interested in that, I can send you more info. But during this breakthrough session, what we discuss is, or what I discuss is that you're going to, if you're unhappy or if you feel like you're out of control, it is because...
Why are you pointing at me again?
Because you're talking about control.
I was the loser last week.
You're out of control this week.
Okay.
But no, it's because you're handing out your power to everyone else. And so you've now given, like, you know, I'll be happy when my stepkid does this. I'll be happy when my spouse does this. I'll be happy when my kids do this. I'll be happy finally when my co-parent, you know, behaves differently or reacts to me differently. I'll be happy when my boss gives me this raise and, you know, when whatever, right? And what you realize is that now your happiness is dependent on absolutely everyone else.
You're usually not their number one thought. Everyone else is not thinking about you and your happiness. Everyone else is doing the exact same thing you are. They're worrying about themselves and their businesses and their livelihood and their happiness, not you.
Right.
I mean, we think about each other every so often, but at the end of the day, we are very selfish creations.
Yeah. And so when your happiness or your well-being or your anxiety levels or your stress or your financial, like anything that you really seek in life, when it is empowered by somebody else, it's dependent on other people, then you do feel out of control. And that does create anxiety. And I think this is something we do experience a lot in our co-parenting, is there's this gap between what we want to happen and we put power in our co-parents' corner so often. And so that's what we're trying to talk about today, is just how do we become empowered? That's the word, you know, taking your power back and becoming empowered so that you can be in control of yourself. Now, we can't control other people. You're never going to be able to control your ex. Never, ever in 100,000 years. I mean, if Eric and I had the power to control people, we would be enjoying our billions of dollars elsewhere.
If you guys wish that you could control your ex and everything around you, hit that thumbs up button because
comment below.
That's an amen.
You know, but one thing that I want to talk about, I'm going to give you some empowered action steps. Something I do a lot in coaching. Every week we have action steps. So you're forced to move forward and get unstuck. So I'm going to give you some for fun of things you can actively do to get empowered with your co-parent in your co-parenting situation. But first, I think I invite you to look at your co-parenting situation and your ex, or even your spouse's ex. And we're going to talk about that, being the spouse of, you know, the ex. Anyway. And this is something Eric and I have had to talk about a lot over the years, is, does your ex have a seat at your table? And that might be a weird question. Do you want to kind of explain that question?
Yeah.
Because this one I think was birthed from you. I think this was
birth to it.
I think
that
this is
episode
Eric's question.
When Bill Cosby gives birth to a submarine sandwich.
It's a really good one.
Yeah, so my thought on this was, look, if we sit down at the dinner table every day, and dinner table is kind of metaphor, you know, for
your
something
family?
for our family, and something that we always do. If our hot topic at the dinner table is our exes and what they're doing and how they're affecting us, you know, or if you want to say it sounds more sexual, but if you want to say, you know, do you want your ex to have a place in our bed? You know, it's a place where, you know,
like intimacy,
but not. I'm not talking sexual intimacy. I'm talking just conversation with us.
Okay, for all men, hear this. This is all men.
Oh,
intimacy is not just sex.
Yes, we all know this.
Okay, well, I'm
clarifying.
talking
Bedroom, and I don't. Anyways, so if if the conversation has gotten so far off topic that you don't know what you're talking about anymore.
No, you're saying you don't want to invite your ex into bed with you.
Or to the dinner table.
Or on vacation.
Or or on the car ride.
Right.
Yes, to church. If you don't want to talk about your ex all the time, don't give them a seat at your dinner table. And if you can keep them out of that conversation and keep the conversation on topic, about you, your goals, your family's goals, how was school today? And don't let them just give you that answer. Fine. It was good. Okay. Ask questions. Get the conversation back to being about your family and your household and your household's goals and what's going on. We have a lot of opportunity for very meaningful conversations. And if it's always coming up about our ex and it's just this negative environment, because usually the conversation about our ex is not always great. So if we can keep those conversations out of our mouths and out of our hearts and out of our dinner table, ultimately, we are going to live free from our exes, and they are not going to have a seat with us at our dinner table. It's going to be much more enjoyable.
Right. And I really appreciate that, because it's giving them a seat, but then also giving them life in your home. And, I know, if you are married to someone who is a co-parent, you're the step parent in this situation. And I know you want to be like, you have thoughts about and opinions and feelings about the ex and how your spouse is dealing and handling the ex and all these things. And so you talk about it a lot. What you may not realize is that you are keeping the ex alive in your home. You are bringing the ex into the home and making it, weaving it in the fabric of your day-to-day relationships in your home. And I think it's kind of counterintuitive to what most people want. Most people want to detach and have their own lives separate from, the ex. Otherwise, you'd be married to them still, right?
Well, yeah, and we can take that a step further, too. Like, stop watching them on social media. Stop following them, on all their platforms, or if they've got a blog or they've got a vlog or they have a YouTube page or they have a podcast or whatever it is. Like, you are disgusted with these people, or you just don't want them to be part of your life.
Don't make them part of your life.
Remove them from your life.
That's right.
In an appropriate manner. Don't be like, all right, I'm never talking to these people again because I don't want them in my life. Like, no, we got to co-parent. If there's situations, and sometimes, again, it's easier than others, but don't spend your time worrying about what the other ex is doing, what the other family is doing, especially when you have your kids with you and, they're safe at home. Who cares what the ex is doing? Spend the time with your kid, spend the time with your family and worrying about your family, not everyone else's. And I mean, that can root out even further. Who cares what the Joneses are doing down the street, or this day and age, the Kardashians? Who cares? Worry about your family, worry about your well-being and what's going to make you guys better, healthier, happier, and ultimately, what are your goals? So.
Yeah. And I think that you unseemingly give your ex power when you keep them, whether you're the ex, or the exes if you both have them. You give them power by breathing life into their existence in your home, by keeping them in your, mouth with your words, keeping them in your thoughts, keeping them in your anxieties, making them a part of your stressors. And so that's a mindset shift. That is a rewiring of your brain, because that's a habit. That is something that you can't you've created a habit to look at their Instagram. You've created a habit to watch their YouTube channel with, people. You've created a habit.
Or their TikTok. You watch their TikTok.
You've created a habit to talk about them. That's even something. Like, you've created a habit to bring them into existence. And so breaking habits are hard. I mean, smoking, right? Any kind of addiction is hard to break, and addictions are just habits. And so when we talk about breaking habits, it's mindset shift. So when you notice yourself looking at their Instagram, you shut it off, or you unfollow them, or You
Most of them
block
aren't followed.
them.
Most of them are just creepers.
Or you block them so you can't. If you block someone, you can't find them and they can't find you.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I did not.
So if you block someone, it helps
I've
you
never looked
too.
for someone I've blocked, so all three of you. I mean, just kidding.
You know, or it is having your spouse be your accountability partner and coming up with a plan like, listen, we need to knock off, and Eric and I have had this talk, we need to knock off discussing the exes in our home because it doesn't bring us joy. It doesn't change anything it doesn't make our co-parenting better.
Well, and to take it a step further is also if you're discussing the ex in your home with the kids there, they just hear that as gossip or trash talking their
even
parent.
if it's not.
Well, yeah.
They take it for whatever it is.
That's
so,
it. And we've experienced all this. This is why we're even here talking about this, because it's like, wait a second. First of all, we're not trying to trash talk these people. Second of all, we're not trying to give them a seat at our table. Second of all, our happiness does not hang on them. So therefore, how are we going to change the narrative and what we talk about? So now we talk about this type of stuff when it's appropriate.
Away from the kids.
Away from the kids, but for as long as it's appropriate. We don't hang our whole day on it and let it follow through.
At the end of the day, is your ex worth talking about? If they are, that's interesting. Also, so if your ex isn't worth talking about, you know, have an accountability partner in your spouse and just say, hey, you know, like we need to, you know, defund the ex in our home by, you know, removing them from our mouths. So if you hear me starting to talk, just lovingly say, hey, remember we decided we aren't going to do this or go down this road? Oh, yeah, you're right. We choose differently. And just, you know, you start breaking habits, and accountability partners are really important in your spouse because they're the ones who's going to help you grow and break habits and cycles and patterns. And so if you notice you do that, it's a good tool. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I think if you have boundaries and you set those boundaries and we're aware of those boundaries, it makes it easier. But again, it's a life change. It's a habit change because a lot of people have bonded on that negativity, and there are seats at your table. There literally are seats at your table. You know, take them away.
Yes. And so I have a question for you. I know you love me putting you on the spot like this. It's not really, it's just, I was thinking about, because it's great, this is more pointed towards, well, I guess both people in the marriage, but it is a very common thing for the step parent in the family to have feelings about the ex. Okay?
So you're saying like me having feelings about your ex?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's do that.
Okay.
Let's say, like, how would
Are these intimate feelings? And by intimate, I'm being a man and saying sexual. Do I have sexual feelings about your ex?
Only you can answer that.
Only I hold the power.
You know that. That's weird.
The answer is
the show's getting
no.
off track. No, but like, how do you deal when your spouse is bothered by your ex? So, like, if you were bothered,
I'm not a good one to ask about that. I'm not bothered by your ex. Like, I don't.
Not bothered. Maybe that's the wrong word. The co-parenting aspect. Okay. You have been bothered by the co-parenting aspect between me and my ex over the last decade or so, whatever, 9 years, 8 years, 10 years. But there's been instances that you've seen my co-parenting relationship and it's bothered you, whether you're like upset at how I'm being talked to, or you felt like I was in the wrong,
or the way you're handling a situation.
Yeah, like maybe, not that I'm always right, and
or
he's
maybe
always
that
wrong.
You're not handling the situation wrong, but there is another perspective. And you and I have had these talks, you know, going both directions. And I think in a situation like that where I'm bothered, am I able to answer the question now?
Of course. This is helpful because I think that's a big problem
Well, I
for
think
people.
When it has gotten to that point in the past, it's like, rather than being like, well, it's her situation, her problem, and just letting you handle it and letting it become your problem, like, you and I are a team. Like, a team helps one another. When I see you're in a situation that could use other
like I'm struggling.
suggestions, yeah, or like, hey, maybe the way you're handling this isn't the best way. Like, you might be able to get better results by handling it this way. One of those was like text would come through like, oh, I'm angry and I got to text back right away because I've got to deal with the situation. Like, one of those conversations was like, whoa, calm down. Like slow it down. You don't need to text back right away. You can slow down and you can answer later. You can answer tomorrow. Is this a dire needing emergency right now that needs an answer? Is your kid in the emergency room? The answer is usually no. So it's like, you know what? You don't owe these people anything. Calm down, slow down, figure out what you want to say. Maybe make a chart. If you're that organized, make a chart. What do I want to say?
Dear Lord, who's got the time for charts?
But you know what I'm saying? Like, take it to the point where you slow down and you can figure out.
It was one of the best pieces of advice that has changed on my end, how I show up in my co-parenting. I'm so grateful for that. So I appreciate you speaking into my life like that.
I'm speaking into everyone's life now.
You
I am
really
here.
are.
If you are listening to this,
oh dear,
I am here for you.
Yeah, and so I think if you're a spouse, you're the step parent and you're having issues with how your significant other is dealing with their co-parent, I think it's appropriate to offer, if you just can't help yourself and you're like, I know this can be better and different, and you really I have to say something to help out. It is all about how you go about it. So don't attack and be like, you're doing this wrong and I can't believe you acted this way. But offer up hey, ask for permission. Do you mind if I give you some advice? Because I really think I have something helpful to say about this situation.
And take it or leave it. Like, it's ultimately it's your situation and your,
right.
Your decision in the end, how you want to handle this. But maybe you have multiple suggestions, or maybe
you have a chart.
Yeah. Or maybe you can just see that
a PowerPoint presentation.
Maybe you can just see that they are frustrated and they could just use someone to bounce ideas off of, because I'm an idea bouncer. Sometimes I'm like, I have the greatest idea and here it is. But then I start bouncing the idea off of people and it's like, you know what? Or I start bouncing the idea, and by bouncing the idea off of you, it grows and it sprouts into something else. And it's like, whoa, this idea turned into something really good that now is not only useful for myself, but you didn't know that you needed this either. And now
here we are. Yeah, no, you're right. Bouncing ideas off oftentimes sparks other ideas or sparks even greater inspiration of something.
Or at the very least, it just sparks awareness.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden I'm aware of, what's going on.
Okay. I do want to ask your perspective as a man, because I think more often than not, it's the women in blended families who are have the emotional, what
do you mean?
No, not like that. I think that the ex probably gets the ex and the communication with the ex probably gets under the women's skin more than men. I don't know, unless you're a jealous man.
Why is that?
I think that men get jealous and they just express it through anger. I do. Never mind. I'm not going to try to describe.
I want examples.
No,
we all want examples.
But
I'm here for them and I'm advocating for them. They want. You guys want examples?
I don't.
I'm asking.
But I do know just from our support group and people who've written in over the years that there's a lot of women in blended families who have a very hard time with the co-parenting relationship that exists between their husband and their husband's ex. It is a really hard pill to swallow, and it doesn't matter if they express this to their spouse. The spouse is like, well, I'm not changing anything. I have to co-parent. And so I want, what, from a man's perspective, what could women in blended families, or if you're an emotional spouse and you're a man, I guess, but what would be helpful
to reel that in, that emotion?
Yeah, to be
That's
able
easy.
to be not to reel it in, but to be heard and understood and be respected as the spouse.
100%. Be a part of the conversation. If you have a insecurity or it just doesn't feel right, and you cringe every time there's a conversation between your spouse, your husband, and or even if it's your wife, even if you're the guy and you're feeling like this.
It happens
If
too.
I'm feeling this way, the best way to get control of something is to be a part of it. If you feel like, oh, I'm not part of this, well, make yourself part of this. Take the time to be a partner to your partner. Take the time to be part of the conversation and have your input and have a say in the discussion. Have a seat at that table. And what that's going to do is that's going to bring the both of you together, and it's going to create a team, which ultimately is a force that is going to be working with this co-parent. Now, you don't have to be the voice. Now if we're a team, there's usually a team captain, and there's a team leader, or there's
the water boy,
and there is he kind of sits on the back on the
there's the bench warmer.
Okay.
Are we not talking about teams?
Okay, Miss Sportsy here. No, but there's a voice. There's a spokesman. So it doesn't mean you need to be that spokesman. It means that you need to be a part of coming up with the idea and part of the conversation and ultimately part of this team. And if you're part of this team, it's going to be comfortable. The conversation's going to be comfortable because I think a lot of the insecurities and the jealousies and all the emotions stem from the unknown. It comes from like, how are they talking? What do these chats look like? What do these texts look like? Are they being friendlier than they should be?
Are they talking about things that don't have
nothing
to do with the kids?
Yes. Are they off topic? Are they rekindling their long lost love for one another and bonding over these children and all this
for
hate
them. Have at
and
it.
anger? No, because that's your husband,
Just
that's
kidding.
your wife, that's your spouse.
Bad. That's bad.
You don't want that
We
to
don't
happen.
want that to happen.
But if you're part of the conversation and you're comfortable with the conversation that's going on and you're aware of what's going on, and I'm not saying being nosy, like, let me see what you wrote today, and critiquing all of it. But if you are part of the conversation, you can't get mad because this is partially you. This is your input also,
That's really good advice, and I'm actually going to put this. I quoted you.
Are you going to put this on your body somewhere in ink?
No, I'm going to post it on our Instagram.
Okay.
The best way to get control of something is to be a part of it.
Yes.
Eric Stoltz.
Eric
I'm
S.
quoting you.
Stoltz.
So
This is
Eric S.
I'm
Stoltz. You
living
would
a lifetime.
Okay, I'm taking notes.
Stoltz.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. The first. I am the first.
Okay, I've put that.
There are none
down there.
others.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway,
If you guys want to see this quote in person, go to Instagram, Blended Life. Are you going to post it on Facebook too?
Yeah.
Okay, go to our Facebook also, and you can see this post quoted and posted.
I'll take a picture of you afterwards so I can put like the quote under you
All right,
so
I
that
better put
everyone
my
gets
clothes back on.
the full picture.
Okay.
You can see Eric in person. Well,
Oh, wait, we're on YouTube also. People know I have do I have my clothes on?
No.
I actually started stripping a little bit before this, and she's like, "What are you doing?
He's like,
are you-
people can't see me.
are you
like,
hot
as
right
we
now?
don't have cameras all around.
Yeah. I'm like, well, sometimes I get very passionate in these conversations and start taking clothing off.
Well, this podcast, this episode was your idea, so I knew it was going to be a passionate one.
I am.
Well, I mean, the genius that's
I
coming
showed
out
up today.
you really did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you.
Thanks.
See, we're a team.
And I want to talk. Still talking to the step parents
Did you
out
hear
there.
that? Someone just threw up. Did you hear that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Who threw up?
I don't know. One of our listeners. They're like these guys.
Oh, everyone. Yeah, everyone's puking.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to the step parents right now because this is time for some tough love. I'm really good at tough love. Nobody likes it, but I'm really good at cutting through bullshit.
Yes.
Here's the deal. And this is something that I think Eric and I, on our journeys in different areas of life together, have learned, not specifically to do with the ex, but here's the deal. Whether it's stepkids, bio kids, ex, parents, in-laws, bosses, whatever, you need to either accept what you cannot control. Like, you cannot control or change somebody else, right? We talked about that at the top of the episode. So if your spouse is unwilling to alter how many times they talk to their ex and what they talk to their ex about, and it has nothing to do with the kids, but they're just catching up on life and having a friendship, and they're friends, because a lot of exes remain friends. I've seen it.
I've seen it. I have too. I've known
a lot that.
Yeah, I've known a lot of people that are like,
we're friends.
They just broke up and they're just great friends still. And it's like, and there's probably a lot of you, like, you're listening right now. You're like, yeah, so like.
Yeah. Oh, I'm making noises. Sorry.
Yes. Is that your tummy grumbling?
No, it's my cell phone on this wooden table. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
So listen, if it is like a non-negotiable, right? Your spouse is unwilling to change their friendship and it makes you uncomfortable. But you're married, right? Here you are. You're in it, and they're not going to change. You have a choice. You can choose to live your life forever upset about this thing that's not going to change. That is your choice. Every day I'm going to be upset. It's always going to bug me. I'm never going to be okay with it. And that is the choice you have. Or you can accept that this is what is and move on. Not like, well, I guess you could leave the relationship if that's ultimately like a non-negotiable.
But here's a question to ask you.
I'm saying like acceptance doesn't mean leave the relationship. Acceptance is like, this is what it is. I can't change anything, but I choose not to be upset by it daily. And you have to tap into that. Do I trust my spouse?
Well, yeah. Am I threatened by it? But here's the other thing that you could ask yourself too. Like,
oh, genius.
If I left this relationship and me and my spouse weren't together anymore, would my spouse and I still be friends? Is that the personality of my spouse? Like, are we friendly people? Is my spouse a friendly person that every time he's talking to his ex, he's flirting with his ex and he's getting a little risque, if you will? He's getting intimate. Is this who my ex is, or who my spouse is?
I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Ask. Where are you going?
No,
Why are your eyes closed? What are you picturing?
Oh, nothing. I'll tell you off air.
Who is my spouse? Who am I married to? Like, do I know this person? And if I do, start asking those questions.
Is
like,
this just his personality that he's friendly to everyone?
Or did my ex, did my spouse cheat in his last relationship and end up with someone else and now I'm with them? Because those are other questions. I feel like those are the questions we should ask before we get in the relationship. But some of us are already here. But who am I married to? And if you have questions on that and you're not quite sure, sit down with your spouse and have a serious conversation. Like, look,
who are you?
Who are you? I'm Batman.
He-Man.
I have the power. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of us don't even know ourselves. And so I think you ask your husband that, his head would explode. Like, or he'd run away or get mad at you. I don't think
Not if you approached it. Not if you approached it.
I don't think that's a safe question.
Really? I think all questions should be safe questions. I think we should be able.
I agree.
Yes.
They should be. They're not.
Okay, but I think they should be. And
should
if they're
be.
not, like, let's figure out how to have that conversation. Like, you and I have pushed the boundaries of like, I don't want to talk to you about this because.
So I'm going to put a gagging ball in your mouth.
Hey, that's not my mouth. What was that?
Oh my gosh! You don't even have a sound effect button for that.
That came out of you.
That was funny.
Anyways, so what I think we need to work towards that though. We need to work towards being able to have an intimate, non-sexual conversation with our partner at any time. And
then watch sex happen afterwards.
I mean, get the dog, it's a little alligator. Let's do this.
Yeah, but I think it's really important because I think that it is open communication that builds trust and intimacy, that when you have that, you may find that you don't really care if they text the ex, like whatever. I think that I got to a place very early on, very, very early on, where I was like, Eric and I both, we would joke about this. I think it was like, within the first year, maybe, Or it was just like, oh, if you want that, you can have it.
Yeah, like don't let me stop you.
That is what you want.
But
I
I think the reason
God
that we
be with you.
yeah,
Have fun.
yeah,
you
good
know?
luck.
Good luck.
I think the
High
reason
five.
that you and I got there though
It was really
is
fast.
because we were so sick of dealing with
It
the
was all
past
horrible. Yeah.
relationships that it's like, you know what? Like if that's what you want for yourself, like
Yeah, there was
I'm
no
not going to
threat.
stop you because
Yeah.
I'm not going to be involved in this drama. I love you. I want to be with you, but also we were at a place where you realize you can't control other people. All
That's
you
right.
can do is control your actions.
Mhm.
So if that's what you want for your life, I'm not going to waste my time fighting with you because you're going to ultimately do what you want to do.
You're gonna do you, boo.
Okay.
But let's talk about actions. This is a great segue to taking empowered action. So what can you do to feel like you are taking your power back, you're in control, you know, that you're able to emotionally detach from the co-parenting situation? And it's not that you're emotional because you still want to be with your ex or they elicit some, you know, deep-rooted romantic feelings. But there are triggers. You know, I think a lot of us who have been married and divorced suffer from some sort of PTSD where it's a trigger. It's a trigger.
That, if you guys can see this on YouTube, that is my trigger finger.
Welcome, church family.
That's my trigger finger.
Yes.
You all know what I'm talking. If you're a blended family, you all have a trigger finger. Yes.
Yeah. And so I think it takes you back to hard times in your relationship. And you know, if you don't have an ex and you're in a co-parenting situation and you see your spouse getting emotional about their co-parent, it's also read it with grace. Like it probably isn't because they feel like, oh, I miss and love my ex. It's probably because it was a really hard relationship and they are triggered by hurt and pain. But I think that we in our head, because our insecurities mix up the two. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like we read it wrong and then our spouse gets the brunt of
But that's us judging, not being informed. And that's where I'm saying, like, get on the same page, have that conversation, be part of this topic.
That's right.
You know?
And also, before we get into talking about what your empowered action steps are, you have to know that feelings oftentimes follow actions. So sometimes you do have to fake it till you make it. That's a saying for a reason. So what I mean is when you start behaving in a way that is emotionally detached, you will become emotionally detached. But so often we wait to do the action until we have the feeling, and that's kind of backwards. You know, like you really need to invest in actions and let your feelings catch up, and then everyone else's feelings will catch up. Because when you're taking empowered action, you're also teaching your co-parent what's okay, what's not okay, and their feelings have to adjust to you and the actions you're taking. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm advocating for everyone here.
Oh.
We are all thanking you.
Oh, you're all very, very welcome. So I have 5 empowered action steps, and Eric might have more. But one thing that you can do, and these are in a positive. So these aren't going to be what you don't do. These are going to be what you are going to do. So if you're in a common space with your co-parent, and you and they're like it's a trigger to be around them. Okay. And so your mood changes when they're around. You notice that you hate being around them, anxiety, stress, you get pissed off, whatever. You're just going to smile. And not a weird smile, like, you know, not that, not the, I don't even know what kind, I don't know.
Chandler Bing smile.
Yeah. Not the Chandler Bing smile, but you're going to have like a look of like, I'm just content on your face, you know, like just smile. Like, look unbothered. So maybe if a smile doesn't resonate with you, find a facial expression that looks unbothered. Can you do that for me? I don't know what that is. He looks like a donkey. I don't know.
Just call me a jackass.
But basically, if you can start not showing your emotion through your face, this is a really hard one for me. I know. This is like, I couldn't be a politician.
I'm pretty sure Lady Gaga made a song about this.
Yeah. poker face.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
None of us. Hang on. I'm speaking for everyone. None of us knew what you were talking about.
But this is the first time in a long time I knew what you were talking about.
It had to be Lady Gaga, didn't it?
I don't normally know the songs that you reference, I was very excited about it.
We are all very aware.
Okay.
Melissa, Jenny, and Johnny are all very aware.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. They say you're welcome.
So basically the point is you're not showing them, your ex, your co-parent, right? Or anyone else, your kids included, that they're affecting you in any way. You're coming off as ambivalent, but kind. You know, that is how you're holding your body. That is how your mind, like your facial expressions. Like if you have to be in a room with them, ambivalent and kind and cordial and unaffected by their bullshit. Like that is an action step you can take, and you'll start over time when you do this. They're going to be like, wow, they don't care if I'm around. Oh, like, wow, I don't affect them. And you're going to start feeling that too. Like I'm okay when they're around. Like I'm unaffected. Like I can do this. And it becomes you feel empowered by it.
Especially at like sporting events or dance recitals or award ceremonies that you're at for your kids. If they know that you're in the room, so they're dodging you and they're hiding out and they're moving, it almost becomes a game for some people. They're like, haha, look how much I affect this person.
Yeah.
I'm going to screw with them.
Yeah. And this is hard because I mean, for me personally, like I don't enjoy giving attention to someone I don't like at all on any level. You know, like on like good, bad, and different.
Where have you been all my life?
I'm uninterested in acknowledging someone's existence that I don't care. So, but again, that gets read wrong too. Like even that's read wrong. So what I've learned from life is you just have to show up in a way that is cordial, kind, and indifferent. But show up, right? Like Eric said, don't run and hide.
Or not
don't
go somewhere.
Go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are like, no, they're going to be there. I am not showing up.
And that's a temptation.
You've had
right?
all kinds of weddings like that.
Okay. Number 2, and this is Eric's genius advice to me in my co-parenting, is that, you know, you can take your time to respond.
Oh, yeah. I already did this one.
Yeah. So this is, and it was this, I didn't even know you were going to bring that up until I wrote this down.
That was me tooting my own horn.
Well, it's really great advice.
You tooted my horn. Thank you.
Because not every fight you have to show up for. Okay? So you don't even have to, well, we'll get to that in a second. But take time. Be thoughtful in your response, because usually a shoot from the hip response is going to be filled with some kind of emotion, and it's unnecessary. You know, like Eric said, if your kid's not in the emergency room and it's not like a have to, or like, I'm here outside the school, did you grab them? That's kind of like, I have to know right now where the kid is. I don't know where our child is.
Priorities.
But if it's like, I'm interested in signing them up for football next spring, you know, take time. Like, answer when it's a good time for you. You're not beholden to answer on your co-parent's timeline. Even that little adjustment for me was so empowering.
Well, and then just another little tidbit of information that helps with this response is respond in the way that you would like to be responded to. And then while everyone's like, they don't deserve that. They don't deserve, because I'm so much better. They don't deserve to be responded to the way I would want to, because I want them to kiss my feet. I want them to give me everything and be nice.
I want them to feel the
kind.
hurt that I feel and the upset and pain. I want them to feel what they elicit in me.
Yes, but that's absolutely the wrong way.
Oh.
Like, we are called to love one another.
That's my temptation.
And I'm not saying to go love them, but I'm saying to take all that hurt and all that pain and all that anger and shove it aside just for this message back or this phone call back. And just think of it like a business call, you know, like this vendor makes you so mad and you don't want to deal with them. But if you answer back the wrong way, you're probably going to lose this customer, this vendor. So do it with a smile on your face. Don't be overly nice. Don't give them all rainbows and carrots and cupcakes and
carrots.
Yeah, carrot
rainbows
cupcakes.
And carrots.
Yes. I was thinking the Easter Bunny when I said
Horrible.
rainbow. We're close to that time of year now. But you want to give them just enough to where it doesn't turn into a bouncy ball and bounce right back to you.
Yeah. You know, your response, is your response going to elicit a negative response back? Because then now we've just created a whole shit show of like unnecessary negativity that you probably at the end of the day don't even want to be part of.
But you might have been the one that started it, or you kept it going.
True story.
And we don't want to.
Number 3, it kind of goes along with number 2, but number 3 is
What is the number 2?
Number 2 is take time to respond. Okay. Number 3 is be choosy what you respond to. Not everything needs a response. Even if you get an email with 5 points in it, you might only find one's necessary to respond to because only one thing actually deals with a custody issue, you know, or an email that attacks you, your character, and your parenting.
Well, so
do you need to respond to that? No.
But this is something that you have dealt with before too. You'll get this email that's like 16 pages long and is just full of all this stuff. And basically what you need to do is you need to not answer that back right away because there's so much stuff and stuff's going to get, you know,
I
skipped
usually
over.
can't even read the whole thing in one sitting.
So that's
like,
so what you do
Yeah.
is you wait, you calm down, and you grab a Sharpie, or not a Sharpie, excuse me, a highlighter, a bright yellow Sharpie, and you highlight only the points that need to be answered back to. And can you hear that?
What? Or you could take a
Wait,
Sharpie.
Can you hear that?
I
That's my
can't.
Sharpie.
Or I liked your idea of a black Sharpie and just line
rid
out
of all
all
the
the
other-
bullshit. And when anything that's
You
left,
can do that too.
you respond to.
Make sure.
That's
yep.
really cool.
Yeah, so you can do it either way. If
Good
your
tool.
glass is really bright or a glass is really dark kind of
I'm
person.
a black Sharpie kind of person. You're a
are.
yellow highlighter.
Yay!
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that Eric helped me with too. You know, not everything needs a response, and you do not have to show up to every fight you're invited to. That was mind-blowing for me because I always felt like I had to defend myself. Like in my co-parenting, I feel like I'm always on the defensive. Like I always have to defend myself and I'm a good person. And yes, I love God. And yes, I care that I'm like, you know what? He didn't know me when we were married. He didn't like me when we were married. Why do I think things change after the fact? Like, you don't know me, dude.
or why
like,
why does he know you better now?
Yeah, like you
10
don't.
years
you
later.
don't know. You don't know how I parent. Like, go shut up. Like
You don't know me.
Because also what happens is that information that's fed to your ex is usually a third party, right? So they don't know anything firsthand. So when you're being attacked by something that's hearsay. Like, fuck that.
Oh, there it is.
That deserves a fuck that.
Oh.
So why are you going to waste your breath? You know, like, especially if your ex is committed to misunderstanding you and committed to thinking the worst of you and committed to villainizing you, there ain't nothing you're going to do to change them. That's what they're committed to do. And unfortunately, they're committed to using your kids to villainize you. Like your kids are being told that you're bad too. So, you know, why are you going to waste your breath defending? Nothing you're going to write back in an email is going to be like, oh, you're right.
Well, the flip side to that too. The flip side to that,
also,
before you finish your letter back,
yeah,
the other
none.
thing too is when these kids are being brought into this, if you are answering back in a negative way and you're angry and this is affecting you from head to toe, and now you're carrying it around and you've laid out the seat and the dinner table placement for these people, now all of a sudden your kids are like, man, mom is crazy, isn't she?
Yep. You feed their narrative, you know, and also, I mean, anything you do is going to get turned around. I've learned that the hard way too. It doesn't matter what you do or say. So sometimes saying nothing, I mean, it's totally on the other person.
Sometimes just going along with your business and doing the right thing is the best possible way.
Living your life, you know, and only responding to what needs responding to. So I know so many people just get into fights because they feel like they have to defend themselves. And I just stop it. They're your ex for a reason.
Okay, I stopped.
Okay, number 4. Start making choices that honor your values as a parent in your home. This means breaking free from identity attachments to your ex? That's a really hard one. So I'm gonna, everyone take a deep breath, because I don't think any of us really want to consider that we have identity attachments to our ex. But I'm here to tell you everyone does. You share kids, you share history. If you co-parent well, you probably share parenting styles that are similar, parenting values that are similar, and you have identity wrapped up with your ex. So we all need to just hear that. And so one way you can take your power back and feel empowered in your home is to start making choices in your home, in your family life apart from your ex, that align with you and your spouse and your values together, or your life together, and stop bringing your ex along for the ride, right? Like why are we considering them when we're in our home and making decisions as a family? So you start choosing and start deciding, and despite the ex or what they're going to say, what they're going to do, and how they're going to react, whatever.
But how do we know what they're going to say or what they're going to do and what they react? If they don't know us, we probably don't know them either. So let's stop assuming what they're going to do.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Last one, number 5. Seek validation elsewhere. You know, and by validation or any needs, I think subconsciously I know I was really guilty of this. I think why I was so into defending myself and like, I'm a good person and I love our kids. I want we
can all relate. Yeah.
Like I was so defensive and so like wearing my sandwich board and ringing my bell all the time.
Didn't it say progressive on it?
I think it was because I was looking for validation. Like on some level, it was really important to me that my kid's father saw me as the good mom I know I am. Like I'm confident I'm a good mom. I know Eric would tell you that I'm a good mom. You know, I know that people who know me as a mom would tell you I'm a good mom. I don't do much well in life. I'm a good mom.
Let me ask you a
question. I'm not a perfect mom, but I know I'm a good mom. But I think that it was really important to me to have validation that my kid's dad saw that and valued me, because he didn't value me in any other way. So I really sought that validation. And so, yes, what's your question?
My question is, after all this fighting and wanting to be validated and wearing your sandwich board while ringing your own bell.
Maybe I wanted like a triangle. Ding, 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 ding.
Okay. After all of that, how's your elbow?
Ow. It's okay.
After all of that,
yep.
Does your ex see you as...
Sorry.
You didn't even let me finish my question. Sorry. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
my ex does not see me as a...
viable human being.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in his heart and head, but he certainly doesn't treat me that way. So, no, like it didn't change anything. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, and I was waiting for validation to feel good. And that's like, on some level, giving him some sort of power over me.
Yeah, and the truth be told, you're probably never going to get it from these people.
Right. 120,000 million %. So that's what I'm saying. Like, stop looking for validation in your ex. They are your ex for a reason. They didn't love, go back and see why your marriage fell apart. And then you're asking for validation from this person. Like, that's kind of a crazy thing. So I think that if you can look for validation from, make sure, as if you're married in a blended family, validate your spouse, without even having them to have to ask for it. That kind of feels silly. Like, do you think I'm a good mom? Like,
do you think I'm pretty?
Yeah. Like, validate your spouse, and if you have other blended family people in your life, encourage them, give them validation, and I think if we can come together as a community and help each other out that way, and validate yourself too. You know the facts. If you're a good mom at the end of the day or a good dad at the end of the day. You lay your head on your pillow at night and you're like, am I a good parent? And you
And,
know
well,
how you're showing up, and
and
you can
that's-
be like, you're not perfect,
That's the thing, though.
but you're good.
It's so much deeper than that, because a lot of times we're like, man, I wish I could just be different. I wish I could show up different for my kids. I wish I could get little Johnny this new dirt bike, or, little Susie this dollhouse she's always wanted. And I'm very stereotyping here, but I really wish I could be different, but I'm trying to do my best. And that right there, that statement is, you're trying to do your best. As long as you're trying to do your best, and you're trying to do your best, and you're doing your best for your family, like, hold your head high in that. A lot of people don't give themselves enough credit. You hear these stories about, these moms or these dads that have worked two jobs, sleeping only a few hours at night just to make ends meet, and they don't give themselves credit. It's like, what, at the end of the day, you are doing the best you can for your family. Like, you could be out doing other things. You could be off with your friends doing other things, or out exploring the world by yourself. And at the end of the day, you're doing your best for your family. So give yourself credit. If you're doing your best, or pretty damn close to it, like, give yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah. And I mean, on the flip side of that too, Eric's right, if you're doing your best, but we always have room to grow. So, if you want to give your co-parent might bring something up that has a sliver of truth that you can, is that true? There's nothing wrong. Instead of getting defensive, maybe you just ask, like, do they have a point? And sometimes
it's an eye-opener, like, damn it, they know me better than I thought.
Yeah, maybe your co-parent has a point. Maybe you are, doing something that isn't great, So, but you can't see that if you're being defensive. If you're seeking validation and they try to give you something that is constructive for your children as a co-parent, you're not going to see it. And so you're blocking your own betterment and growth as a parent if you can't just put the emotions aside, detach emotionally, and just start being a truth seeker. Like, what is the truth? And ask yourself, like, do they have a point? Sometimes it'll be yes. Sometimes it'll be no. If it's no, move on. If it's yes, don't be offended. Just be like, okay, opportunity to learn. Cool. And use it to better yourself, and then move on. Yeah?
Yeah, and if you're so about them being not in the right, you don't even have to tell them that they're right. You just have to just take that swallow and be like, damn it, they're right.
Take that swallow. We know it well.
Yeah.
We have...
there's the woodpecker, too. Swallows and woodpeckers, they're pretty little birds.
They're pretty little birds. So I hope you guys found that useful. Before we end, we do have a listener write-in.
I know. I saw you over there typing around
it.
on your phone. I even went to a close-up of it so people could see how distracted you were.
Oh, yeah?
That was an accident. But yeah, we're here.
Okay, so we have a listener who wrote in, and she said, I wonder if you might consider addressing couples who are blended but not married, yet one person wants to be married, the woman, and the other, the man,
why are you
doesn't. Because I'm like, that's typical.
That's not
It's
typical.
not. Okay,
Us men
so
take our time to know what's right.
hang
We plan
on. Can
out.
I finish the question?
Finishing your sentence.
Okay, so she says, a friend of mine and I are going through that together and share this. We both are at a crossroads as we love our partner and have worked hard at relationships with the children so the other partner could feel more secure as a family unit. However, the men in our lives have no need or interest in marrying us, it would seem. They will say things like, maybe one day, but it's clear it's not in the immediate cards. And these relationships are 5 to 6 years in, so a lot has been invested. I know he wants to be with me for life, and his thought is that he wants us to choose to stay together, not have a legal document force us to stay. We are believers, and it is difficult as I feel we are meant to cohabitate as husband and wife, even if it's the second time around for both of us.
Do I get to answer this one?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I told her this was our story.
We arm wrestled, I lost. Here we are.
Well,
I mean, short story, right?
But I was telling her, like, this isn't, if you're in good company, this was kind of our story. I mean, not exactly the same, but we were together for 5 years, and I felt like I needed either, like, for me, I know that you were your own person.
See this? We lost our arm wrestle. My arm's
but
still
like
broken
for me, I just felt like I was at a point in my life where I didn't want to do, like, it was either married or not. Like, in 5 years, I felt like no or not. That was my opinion. So if Eric would have been like, I just can't do this, no harm, no foul.
So what if I was in the same place though, where I'm like, I want to be together for life. I know I want to be with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, my Christian values and morals would tell me that you're not for me then.
Here's my rebuttal to that, because I too am a Christian with morals.
But you have your own. That's okay.
You have your own.
Yes, and that's okay. Right. So yours, go.
So my thought is too, if you have, and he has, Christian morals and value, and you're not as strong as Julie, then eventually those Christian morals and values are going to catch up to you, I feel. And
like year 10?
Maybe year 23. I don't know. Maybe never. So here is, and I'm just going to call out my younger sister. They don't have the same values as us as Christians. I mean, my sister might a little bit. Her fiance has his own ways and his own thoughts. But at the end of the day, do I see Christian moral values catching up to them and them being like, you know what, we are not living a righteous, godly life. This is not what God is calling on us to do. Like, I don't see that happening for them. However, it's stated in this that they are believers. They do have Christian morals and values. And I think that if it's not just a title that they're giving themselves, if you are people that are, God-fearing, God-loving, you do truly hold those values in your heart, eventually that will catch up. That being said, I'm not trying to invalidate you here, but I'm also validating that you have your thoughts and you have your feelings on this. You have your values, and you are like, well, listen, we're living in sin because we're living together. We're having intimate relationships with one another. We are examples to our children, all the things. We could go on about how this makes you feel. That's a very, very valid thing also. So my favorite thing to say on this podcast is they need to have a conversation. They need to communicate.
Well, I feel like he has communicated to her I think they're at an impasse. Like, she's like, this is what I want. And he's like, well, I want us to choose to be together. I don't want a marriage certificate. And maybe someday, but not now.
So let's choose to be together and, do we get married? What does this look like? There needs to be more conversation. If they're at an impasse, then there needs to be more conversation. If they're serious about this, if they want this to go on, she wants to be happy. She wants him to be happy. He probably wants her to be happy. What does happy look like? Because if it's like, well, I really want marriage right now, and he's like, I really don't want marriage right now, that doesn't work.
Right. And so maybe the conversation has to be started, like, how can we both get what we want? What does that look like? What does compromise?
Fake it till you make it.
No, but it is like maybe the conversation just is a little bit different. Like, this is where I'm at. This is where you're at. If we don't want to break up and we want to stay together, what does the compromise here look like? Like, where do we meet in the middle so we both get what we want?
Well, you know what? And also, if you're listening to this right now and you're stuck on this and you're like, look, I can't go on another 1 or 2 years without being married, you need to have a serious conversation and tell him that I am not going to make it if by June 1st, 2063, we are not married, I'm not going to be able to go on any further. And that is a decision that you are going to have to make, but this is my hard deadline. If that's where you are. Now, if that's not where you are, don't start putting stuff out. As you would say, don't open a door you are not willing to walk through. So you need to have that serious conversation and dig deep in yourself and be like, what does what does this feel like to me? What do I need out of this? What is my...
Well, and this is something that really you should be praying about every single day until you have an answer. What is your hard line? And maybe you realize you don't have one. Sometimes we think we have a hard line until we start exploring it and we're like, oh, I don't really have one, it turns out.
Would I really take a bullet for her?
No.
You wouldn't?
For her?
Who?
You.
I'm not a her.
I don't know. Gender's all confusing this day.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
But I think that, you need to start, because if you're a believer and, for me too, like I knew that it didn't feel right. And I just was like, I couldn't, like, we would want better for our kids. If this was my daughter and she was feeling this way and she was a believer in all these things, I would want better for her. Like, I would want someone who knew that this was what they wanted and they were going to lay down their life for her in every way. When I think of marriage, I think it is you lay down your life for the other person in every single way, financially, physically, emotionally. With legally, it was a certificate, choosing each other, like it's everything. You don't get to pick and choose. And I think that's what's scary about marriage. But I think marriage is really like you're laying down your life for another person in all ways. And so I would want my daughter to have someone who wanted to do that for her. And, 5 years, I think where you don't know. I believe that. I believe in 5 years, these are my beliefs. Not everyone's going to agree, and that's fine. In 5 years, you should know if you could marry someone or not. This is somebody I could marry.
It sounds like he knows that he could. It sounds like he knows that. But
maybe he doesn't want to lay down his life in all ways for her.
But maybe I'm going to call you out for a second here because maybe he is at a point where he's getting ready and he's like,
yeah, maybe.
I'm trying to figure this out. But maybe he is trying to get all of this figured out and it just needs to feel right. Maybe he's gone through some traumatic past and he knows things are right in here. And his mom just had to tell him, like, look, if you don't do this by then, like, she's going to leave you.
Well,
and you're like, listen, Mom, I've been planning this shit, but she is so persistent and doesn't let me plan anything that we're just going to have to figure this out.
I think that to call you out back, volley the ball back to you. No, but I think it's just about communication. Like, she should communicate, and then if he's like, I just need time because this is where I'm at, or I'm working on it. Even like the hope. I'm
trying to save up for this ring that costs. Show them your ring. It takes time. Okay. Getting engaged takes time. It takes planning. You women want it all romantic. Us men want it all perfect and romantic for you.
It's so true. But my point is, what happens is we don't communicate. And you don't have to give away your hand. But I think that, it is if you're the man in this situation and you're working on something or you're like, I just need a little bit more time because of finances, or because of...
I don't care. I don't need some big old ring or rock. Did
I ever say that to you? I have never said that to you.
I'm not an idiot.
I've never said those words. I like diamonds. I'm not sorry about that.
See, us men, we listen and we know
you
better.
like cars. I like diamonds.
Yes.
Sorry.
I got you both.
But my point is that I think that what gets lost in translation is we all assume the other. We are all filling in each other's thoughts, and we're all assuming, and we're not communicating. And so I think
that's exactly what my point was. It needs to be communicated.
Yeah.
It needs to be talked about. These hard deadlines. We need to communicate better.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Learn from us and our mistakes.
Do what we say.
Our mess is our message.
What we do. It's something. All right, you guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for being here. If you like this, leave us a comment. Let us know if there's other things you want us to talk about.
And if you didn't like it, do nothing.
Do nothing. Click.
Ignore.
Click gone. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.